biggest challenge I've found is getting people in a customer mindset. The key attribute I bring to any project, forget leadership, forget experience, is curiosity. What changed for me was the realization that Gen AI deployment can be really quick. Have a problem one afternoon and it's solved by the following morning. We all get good days and bad days, and the more good days you get, the better. And if you're curious, and if your job keeps you curious, you'll have more good days than bad.
You've had a massively brilliant career in the transformation and space. I'm sure you've had lots of instances, things that didn't really work well. Where were you at this point?
Success isn't what I deem success is. Success is what you deem success is. The difference between a project succeeding or failing isn't whether you encounter it, it's how you do it.
Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode of Transformation Reality TV, where we talk about the human side of transformation. The real stories, moments when things go sideways, the absurd situations that should not happen but always do. Today, we have amazing Nick Creagh in the house. Nick spent a decade in consulting, telling companies how to build their data teams. Then he had a thought. Why am I teaching people to do the job that I actually want? So he left, became Chief Data Officer, started building the teams himself at TESS, Word of Books, and most recently at University of East London. That's when things got interesting. Because Nick learned something most tech leaders miss. Transformation does not fail because of bad tech. It fails because we build brilliant solutions for problems we never bothered to understand. Nick has been doing this for 20 years across publishing, e-commerce, and education. And he's got some stories to tell. So let's hear it from Nick.
Nick, first of all, welcome to, and thank you for agreeing to do this interview with us. As you know, we are talking about learnings, if you can say so, not so much as failures, but they're learnings. And I would love you to, think about and give us some stories about you've had a massively, brilliant career in the transformation and space. So I'm sure you've had lots of instances of things that didn't really work well. So imagine you were in that scene and you realized, oh shit, this is not working out. Where were you at this point? Like, what were you doing? Who you were with? What is going on?
It happens at every project, and the difference between a project succeeding or failing isn't whether you encounter it, it's how you deal with it when you do. And there's always resistance because you're always trying to get people to do something different. And in my experience, resistance comes in two kinds. There's the obvious one, which is I don't want anything to do with that because I'm scared or I'm frightened or I think it's going to cost me my job. But there's another form of resistance, which is, oh, don't bother me with that. We're already doing that, or that's easy, or that's trivial, or fundamentally, that's not worth my time. So it's on the one hand, you've got the resistance that amounts to it's too much. And then on the other, you've got resistance that's it's too little. And they both usually have some fear at the heart of it.
Yeah.
And when I've succeeded, we've been able to uncover, discover, confront, and surpass that fear.
Yeah.
So rolling out AI-based products, there's two situations I can think of, both in the context of the university. One, we were using a tool to enhance a customer-facing team, and they were afraid it was going to take over their jobs. It was going to supplant.
Yeah.
And what we did was we were very careful. It was through a series of workshops. It was talking to people, very careful to explain that the vital part of the job they do is engaging with people. Yeah. The bit of the job that they used to think was valuable, sifting through loads of data, we could automate.
Yes.
But the vital part of the job was engaging with people.
Yes. So just to stop there, because I really want to understand how this unfolds, how on the ground you feel,
Yeah.
because what you're explaining is almost um, towards the end.
Yes.
So if we step back and say, like I was saying, like if there was a point in this project that you were talking about where maybe there was a meeting or there was like just
Yeah.
an email or something where you were like, oh my God, this is going to be, hard, or this is not working
Yeah.
out.
Well,
What was
I know I'm going to succeed if what I'm getting is people is curiosity and interest.
it?
If they're taking the idea and running away with it and coming up with something completely different than what I intended, that's not a failure, that's a success.
Mm,
We pivot and go in the direction they're going.
mm,
If they are innovating, if they are curious, if they
mm,
are engaged, we are winning.
mm,
The point at which I know we're encountering resistance is if I don't feel that curiosity from them.
So it wasn't like was there a point like that? So if you go back to one of the projects, like the customer service one, was there a specific point or was it like over a period of like multiple
Well,
weeks?
we're talking about there being something missing.
Yes.
So it's not that it's one meeting where you go, okay, we've got a problem. It's a
Mm,
series of times where at the end of it you go, I'm not feeling it yet, lads.
mm,
I'm not feeling that you're up for this.
mm.
And sometimes it's because it's been imposed on them.
Yes.
They've been told to do it, and
Yes.
that's legitimate. That has
Yes.
to happen. But that's when it's kind of you sit down with the leader or the manager and go, firstly, is this going to happen? And if the leader is the leader who's imposing it and they say yes, then it's okay, then you need to lead.
Mm,
What we need to do is create that sense of enthusiasm within your team about the change we are talking about. If you can't generate the enthusiasm, ain't happening.
mm,
Now, there's all of the lines about, the sayings about what you need to do to ensure their hearts and minds will follow. And so you can say, yeah, get enthusiastic or you lose jobs.
mm.
Not a pleasant place to be,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's necessary. But you're going to succeed when people get interested and get
Yes.
enthusiastic and they start to innovate.
Yes.
And generating that is all sorts of different skills, all sorts of different reasons. And it does vary a little bit between if they're saying, oh, this is too much for me, that's
Mm,
about slowing down and working at their speed and helping them. And
mm,
the other resistance of, oh, this is too little for me, you get a bit more spiky and challenging and go, all right, then how come I can do something that took you 2 weeks? I can do it in 2 hours.
mm,
Oh, but you've not done it to the quality we have. No, but what does your
mm,
customer need?
mm.
And starting to unpick and help people realize that perhaps they've been gold plating their solutions. The biggest challenge I've found is getting people in a customer mindset where
Yeah.
success isn't what I deem success is what you deem success is. And I don't win until you think I've won.
That is such a I see that all the time.
Hmm.
But you're right that even in cases where we actually convince ourselves that what we think customer wants is what customer wants.
Yes.
You see what I mean? Like
And
it's
it's
not even, yeah.
and we confuse that with pride in our work.
Yes.
And when we are the experts in what we do, we're right to do
Yes.
that because we know better than the customer what constitutes good work.
Yes.
But these days, we're not building a widget, building a
Mm,
car, blacksmithing a piece of armor. We're not the only experts in the room.
mm,
We're building a tool that they
mm.
will use.
Yes.
And the only
What?
measure of success is that they can use it.
Yes. When you think about this story or any other story, was
Yeah.
there one person who, let's say, made it impossible or made it possible for either to continue or like yeah for this project, like
Yeah. And
there
it's
was one.
yes, and it's always down to somebody being curious or lacking curiosity. So
Mm,
one example of which I've got many, this one was we'd historically built a dashboard for a team That team was complaining that the data wasn't good enough. And we're looking at one another going, well, the data is what the data is. We don't know what they're talking about. So I said, let's go and talk to them. And the question was not what's good or bad about the dashboard. The question was, how do you use this? So we got them to talk us through what they did. And the person on the ground, it turns out what she did was she fired up the dashboard, and the very first thing she did was downloaded the data into Excel and did all of her analysis there, and then didn't touch it for 3 months. And it was, okay, so there's two issues there. One is you're downloading the data into Excel, so you're bypassing all of what the dashboard can do for you. And secondly is, in the 3 months between you make your call and you press your button, things change. So the star of this story wasn't me, it was my dashboard engineer, because he immediately went, oh, okay, that's okay. Well, why don't you tell me what data you need in Excel, and I'll rebuild the dashboard to make it really easy for you to download that data to Excel so you can do it quickly. And as he walked her through how to do that, he was dropping in hints of how everything she was doing in Excel could be done in Power BI. And basically training her how to use the dashboard to do everything that she wanted. He did have to revamp the dashboard to make it essentially Excel on speed. Which, to be fair, wasn't a lot of work. But it meant that he was giving her the confidence to use the tool that we'd built to do her job, which had the added effect of she could do it more frequently and so see that the data was changing. He was showing her how to have confidence in the tool and in the data.
That's amazing, right? That is what we are talking about, like the human to human. What do you need?
Yes.
How can I sort of
and it's because he had made the shift from I know what a good dashboard is to it doesn't work unless they're using it. So just give them what they need to use.
What was the most absurd thing that has happened in a transformation project?
I work in education. It's all absurd. There's one that I can remember where so much of the absurd comes down to the fact that when we're dealing in very large numbers, we're used to the logic of Six Sigma, which says, it's something, I forget the exact figures, but it's something we're allowed about 4 errors in 10,000 or 4 errors in 100,000. So small numbers. But when you start to get down into the detail, what those errors look like can be utterly nuts. Like, I remember we had one, this is very early in my career. I was doing the management information on a very large education process. It's running an examination, running an exam.
Right.
And the process for an exam is blank papers have to be held incredibly secure and shipped to the examination centres, schools in this case. And they are incredibly secure so that when the pupils turn over page 1, they do so at exactly the same time, and it's a surprise to them when they do it. Right. Nobody should have seen that exam at that point. Once the exam is done, so 3 hours later, the exams are collected up, boxed up, and sent back. At which point, their security is of a completely different kind. They, nobody cares what's on them. Because that is now public knowledge, but they need that completed exam to be locked down. So it can be marked, which meant that we couldn't manage to Six Sigma. We had to manage to perfect. And we had situations where the guy in charge of the security was an ex-Metropolitan policeman who, in his previous career, had been a vice officer. And he was bemoaning one day that in a previous career, he was kicking down doors and arresting bad people, and now he was worrying about boxes of exams. And we looked at him and laughed and went, yeah, but are you wearing a stab vest right now? And he went, no, and I can go and get myself another copy. Anyone else want another coffee? The same guy was reading through his report and going, why am I getting a report of a box of exams found in a field that had been signed for by a shepherd? Yeah, welcome to the ridiculousness of this system. It's just that kind of nuts. Or another one, we were tracing the supply chain of books, education books. and they were localized in the sense of, yeah, okay, you'd publish them in different languages. That's one kind of localization. Sometimes also a deal would be done whereby a book was published with a university's logo on it to do a deal with that university. The contents was no different from the same book published in another country. And so we were seeing on the supply chain data cross-border arbitrage. In other words, students in a university in one country were buying the book for half price from another country and shipping it over and just playing those games. And we're looking at this and going, do we have a problem with this? We don't, but perhaps the country do. So we were calling them up and going, this is what's going on.
Right.
This is within the rules so far as we're concerned. Do you want to do anything about it?
Yeah. Okay.
We were watching at one point the same book being arbitraged between Egypt, Palestine, Israel, and the US. And it was, okay, well, the students seem to have worked out a way of profiting from the peace process. Why isn't everybody else?
Where there is a will, there is a way. That's what I always
Yes.
say. Coming back to you personally,
Yes.
is there any time, project, incidents that you think have asked of you something personally, where you have come out of it being, changed in a different way? Not like I was working, like not just like overtime or,
Yeah,
not just from
they
time
all do.
perspective, but yeah.
They all do. Because
Yes.
for me, the key attribute I bring to any project, forget leadership, forget experience, it's curiosity. Because today is not like yesterday, tomorrow will not be like today. I don't know what's coming, which means that the way I approach any problem, situation, project, product, leadership challenge, whatever, is, okay, I've got a bunch of tools in my toolkit, but what am I actually looking at? What am I actually experiencing? What is this? And if I can start to think, how am I in this situation? Only then can I realize other people are probably feeling that too. And that every single experience changes me because I learn a bit more,
Do you
because
have
I
a
know a bit
specific
more.
example, like, how you start, you change your perspective
Well,
changed, or your
yeah,
angle changed, or
I'll give
your
you
way
a
of.
recent one. We'd been working behind the scenes on some Gen AI to get us up to speed. And we were starting to think, okay, what are the use cases that this could work with? And had a suspicion that if we knew the use case, the deployment should be quick, because after all, it's a couple of lines of natural language text packaged up, stuck in a back end, and away we go. And then I got a call from a colleague in marketing who said, we've got a challenge. We've got to maintain 1,000 product descriptions where we've got formal quality documents on the one hand that define the product in a legal state, and that needs to be converted into website speak, which is a sales speak to help a customer understand the product. Can you help us? And we looked at that and went, you've got formal, well-defined quality documents. You want marketing speak that's also, in another sense, well-defined. You have a document that defines the difference. Other universities, because this is courses I'm talking about, publish that document. That's a little bit of Gen AI work. And I got a Gen AI engineer on the call as well. So it's three of us on a Friday afternoon chatting it through, and we're going, yeah, this should be easy. And the engineer's looking at me going, yeah, should be easy. And he came back to me on Monday morning and said, done it. What do you mean? In work time, that was an hour ago. He went, yeah, but I was bored on Sunday afternoon, so fired up the laptop and did it. It took him about an hour. And if anything, that was overkill, because he trained it not just on what we knew, but on several other universities as well. Yeah, and he just went and in fact, he got the Gen AI to go and find them itself. And we handed it back to marketing. And he went, oh yeah, okay, it is like that. And it was, what changed for me was the realization that Gen AI deployment can be really quick. Like a problem, you can have a problem one afternoon and it's solved by the following morning. Now, we let marketing run with that for a few months to get used to it, came back to them, and their one piece of feedback was the results are all a bit samey, which turned into a conversation of, because isn't that a good thing? I mean, you want a common look and feel to your marketing descriptions. And they went, yeah, we know what you mean, but it's a bit too samey. Oh, okay. And we just injected a little more randomness into it, and they were happy. But it's that sense of, because Gen AI is natural language coding, you type in a piece of ordinary English and it spits back what you want. It can be deployed really quickly,
So
certainly into a test environment.
Made you realize how serious this
Just
whole
how
AI
fast,
thing,
yes.
is.
And it's up until that point, my understanding of AI was algorithmic, was complicated maths. My PhD is a mathematical one.
Yeah.
If we need to go there, I can go there.
Yeah.
And then Gen AI all of a sudden was
just completely
okay.
changed.
This is genuinely no code.
Yeah.
Genuinely easy, right?
Yeah.
And so I started talking to my team about what's now called prompt engineering.
Yeah.
The idea of let's explore this, and in fact engage the head of that school. And we started to have a conversation going, okay, we need to redo our courses around prompt engineering because this is serious.
Yes.
And that kind of pivot is happening in, whereas before it was weeks, it was months and years, now it's days and weeks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the last one is, if you were to give one advice to yourself on, let's say, day one, maybe day two, something about people, I guess, or something about yourself, what would that be?
I was lucky that someone gave me this advice when I was in school.
Okay.
And it would be the advice I'd make sure everybody else hears. And it amounts to be curious. What I was told was, if you were ever given a choice in your career between something that is something that interests you and something that on paper looks good, do the thing that's interesting. Because we all get good days and bad days, and the more good days you get, the better. And if you're curious, and if your job keeps you curious, you'll have more good days than bad.
That's amazing. That's really, I totally am with you about that. I think we spend so much of our waking time at work, 80% of it. And, what's the point if you're not waking up with a step, like the excitement in a step, like I want to go to work, I want to do this. And
it's what do I get to do today?
Yeah, exactly. So that's amazing. Thank you so much.
And for me, it's also, who do I get to talk to today?
Yes. Yes, me today.
I don't know. I was on a call earlier on where we were prepping for the panel at DTX, and realizing we've got lots of different people with lots of different experiences, and we've got areas of discussion around which we can agree and disagree. And in fact, we were agreeing to disagree.
Right. Good. Yeah. That's interesting. That's what an interesting conversation looks like.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nick, for today.